All right, we're back. We got a very special edition for you. Our special guest is the guitarist, songwriter, performer of the mighty Humble Pie Legacy Band. It is Dave Bucket Colwell. Dave, thank you so much. Wow, we're talking about crazy weather in America and England and all that, but us Yanks, man, we cannot get enough of the great Humble Pie. And I know, of course, Humble Pie spent a lot of time here in America, laying it down, going city to city and establishing those roots. And I know even with your time, both with Bad Company and playing with Humble Pie, how important the American, market was, not to take away from Europe or, anywhere else. And I know you guys would dip into Canada anytime you could, Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal. But talk a little bit about, obviously you played with Humble Pie back in 2000 with Jerry Shirley, Greg Ridley, Bobby Tench, playing those great Steve Marriott songs. And of course, you were right there working your way to the front of Hyde Park with 100,000 folks seeing the mighty Humble Pie and Grand Funk lay it down in June of 71. And talk about, having played with Humble Pie and, of course, knowing the great Jerry Shirley, who's pretty much retired at this point, but knows that he gets asked every day, like, when are you guys getting back together? Well, I don't think Steve's coming back, but now Greg's not coming back, but we have players. And Jim Stapley and Bobby Marks and Ivan Broadley, we can bring it. Yeah, it's a tribute to Steve, just like Leonard Skinner is a tribute to Ronnie Van Zant, a tribute to Gary Rossington, a tribute to Alan Collins. But this music, people can't get enough. So if you weren't around when the original band was there, or if you were but want to relive those moments, talk about how this all came together. I know it's been a labor of love for a little while now, and our friend Steve Guitarist and everybody has got such great passion for what you guys are doing. Talk about the evolution of the new Humble Pie.
Well, as you said earlier, I was with the band in 2000 and became great friends with Jerry. He's like my big brother, really. And, we both, he knows my love for the band. He knows my passion for the band. And, we were saying a lot of the Humble Pie fans didn't even see the band at all live. It was 50 years ago, and there is, we just think there's definitely a need to keep this music alive and bring it out as a great live rock and roll show. And we've been putting it together for a couple of years. I mean, COVID sort of puts a stop on everything for 2.5 years. We couldn't work at all. I've got a lovely garden now and far too many guitars, but I had nowhere to play them. But we've got the band together and we're ready to go. We've just been in Atlanta rehearsing and doing some filming, and we're going to be touring this fall in America.
Well, we can't wait. And like I say, with you having played with that version of Humble Pie, it's in your DNA. It is certainly granted and sanctioned by the one and only Jerry Shirley. And I love Jerry's book, and I love the title of it. I tell people, Jerry had the best seat in the house. He's looking at that crowd with Steve Marriott, Peter Frampton, Clem Clemson, and Greg Ridley in front of him. And you can only imagine the view and the times. I mean, just at the Hyde Park show alone, you can only imagine, like I say, seeing the band in 75 on the Street Rats tour in Ohio was a special moment, kind of bittersweet, in that it was my first show seeing them and knowing that all that Steve was going through, he was kind of calling it a day until they kind of came back with Fool for a Pretty Face and that version, which wasn't all the members, but there's been incarnations. But now, we're looking, like you say, 50 years since the Street Rats tour. It's time. There's fans out there that wish there was some version of Led Zeppelin out there. There is some version of Foreigner out there, and some version of Deep Purple out there, and some version of some of these groups, but Humble Pie is a special place in our heart. Me, growing up around the world and I started playing guitar at 6. I saw the Beatles and Ed Sullivan when I was 5, and then moved to England for my first 3 years of school and begged my mom to get a guitar. But I would watch Top of the Pops and all that. But to me, most of the great rock music, the great pop music, like the Beatles and the Stones and the Who, they were all inspired by great American R&B and soul and blues music. And Humble Pie really epitomized that. Steve was such a huge fan. We tell the tales and hear all about his giant boombox, wherever he went. If he wasn't on stage, whether he was backstage or in the hotel, or probably had the damn boombox in the limo with him,
Yeah.
He loved his music, and he wasn't going to hold back for his love, for this American art form, but definitely British, through the eyes and ears and throat of one Steve Marriott. And of course, we all know Peter Frampton from Frampton Comes Alive, but he laid down the foundation of the band. But Clem Clemson came in, and the Smokin' album to me is the epitome of Humble Pie. Like we said earlier, Eat It was not recorded correctly. It doesn't sound as sparkly and as punchy as Smokin'. And even though we had a great song with Thunderbox and all that, I say, boy, when I dropped the needle on the Smokin' album, I was probably smoking something at the time, and just looking at that album cover and flipping it and seeing the picture of the band and listening to it over and over again. Again, Hot and Nasty, The Fixer, You're So Good for Me, Come On Everybody, Old Time Feeling, 30 Days in the Hole, Roadrunner, I Wonder, Sweet Peace, and Time. And this was absolutely incredible stuff. And tell us about your love for that album.
Well, this tour that we're starting in fall, we're actually calling it the 50 Years of Smoking. Smoking was released in 1972, so we're kind of a year out, but that's because of COVID or whatever. But we're doing a lot of the songs from Smoking, as well as typically the Fillmore album, but we're digging back even further as well and doing some stuff like Red Like Mama, Red Heart, and stuff from the earlier albums. So the set is really geared to playing as many of the songs as we can. A lot of the band, the original band, as I said before, was like rehearsed improvisation. So some of the songs will go on for 30 minutes, like Walk on Gilda Spinners, etc. We'll do snippets of those, but we're cutting them down and doing as many songs in the set as we can. And talking about those players and the influences. The bass player we have, Ivan Bodley. It's from New York, and he was the musical director and the bass player for Sam and Dave and a lot of these acts and Memphis sounding stuff. And so Jerry Shirley, who vetoed everyone, of course, he said, well, he's a real cat. He plays God knows how many shows a year at the moment, but he really wants to do the Humble Pie thing, and it's a great fit. Now with Jim Stapley, the singer, I've known Jim for years. We've been together in Kenny Jones from the Small Faces has got a band in England called the Jones Gang, and Jim and I have been a part of that for probably 8 or 9 years. So we've worked together extensively, and he's a singer based on Sam Cooke's, Aretha Franklin, and all the rest of it. That's where his history and his lessons, if you like, come from. And he's a great guitar player as well. So, we've got the 4-piece lineup with Jim and I on guitar, Ivan on bass, and you mentioned Bobby Marks on drums, who's an absolute monster player. Now you can imagine, the shoes he's got to fill with Jerry, and Jerry was, he said, I need to hear this drummer, and he's absolutely over the moon with Bobby's playing and the backbeat and the power that Jerry, started with.
Yeah, well, we know it's real, it's authentic, it's heartfelt, and I can't contain my excitement. I feel like I'm ready to go get in line right now. The seeing you guys on stage, whether it be a theater, a outdoor festival, a stadium package, whatever it may be.
All of the above, hopefully.
Yeah, all the above. We know people can't get enough of this music. We've seen bands like Wasp and all these people try and cover I Don't Need No Doctor. Great try, guys, but no, that's not Steve Marriott, and yeah, everybody's trying to keep the music alive, but you guys come from that authentic roots, of the group and of the neighborhoods of Jerry Shirley and of the history of Steve Marriott. I think he's a national treasure both in England and America. I'm
Sure.
right up the street from A&M Records, which of course was the label here in America for Humble Pie, and you flip Smokin' or Rockin' the Fillmore or Street Rats, any of them over, boy, you saw that A&M logo, right there at Sunset and La Brea. That label was special because not only was the record company based in the old Charlie Chaplin studios where literally silent movies were born here in Hollywood, but they were an artist-friendly label. Of course, the A stood for Herb Albert, and Jerry Moss. So they were very artist-oriented. Of course, that's where Frampton comes alive, and boy did he, but they were always a very special independent label, and we've lost so many of those companies due to the corporate nature and the mergers and acquisitions. But we know the music lives forever, and we want to encourage everybody to stay tuned, for all the announcements, where Humble Pie Legacy will be playing, some of these big package shows. Like I say, there's a few of the groups still out there, from the 70s, but to me, it's timeless music. So what you're doing right now in 2023, 4 and 5, is what matters. And I know that, we've talked to Bobby Marks, we've talked to Jerry Shirley, we've talked to Clem Clemson. I look forward to talking to Jim Stapley. I know that everybody's put their heart and soul into this. And I know we are the benefactors, the music lovers. We're the ones that get the treat, we get to pay for a ticket, sit back, have a drink, and get our faces blown off by people that will not let this music die. And that's what's so great to hear. And when I reached out to Steve and I said, I want to talk to Jerry Shirley, he said, absolutely, as long as you're talking about the new band too. And I said, well, that's what it's all about. To me, the music lives on. I listen to Humble Pie every day, and doesn't seem 50 years old to me, that's for sure.
Jerry's as passionate about this as he was when he was 16, 17. He really is. We're being, it's a new band. We are paying homage to the band, but we're putting our own stamp on it a bit, and Jerry's 100%, 200% behind it all, and we're all very excited about it.
Yeah, and as you should, it's something that, like I say, is a long time coming. Listen to these records over the years. I always, fondly go back to that 75 show I saw, with the original band, but bam, it was gone. And then we heard little glimpse of it, like I say, with Fool for a Pretty Face. But, all these years in between, it's like, wait a minute, that band should have been bigger. They should still be around. And they should be a staple, just like the Rolling Stones, just like the Who, just like, Deep Purple. Any of these bands that are still doing it, Humble Pie has their place in history. And to me, it was the combination of not only a kick-ass rock band, but they had the soul, they had the funk, they had the blues, in Steve's playing and the voice, and Jerry's playing, and Clem and Peter, and of course Greg Ridley. I know he was a monster on the bass. And, that was something I always loved. To me, the greatest rock songs ever were the ones that were soulful.
Yeah.
And when you hear Steve sing, you're like, whoa, is this a black guy from Watts or Harlem or what? And then you see him come out and he's this pint-sized Brit with a voice that won't quit. He just truly a treasure. We can't get enough of the bootlegs, the solo albums, whatever we hear. Now, when did you know? Obviously, Jim Stapley has some heavy, shoes to fill, but I know he brings his own. And you say he's got the authenticity of having the roots and Aretha and Ray and all the greats. But when did you first hear him sing a Humble Pie song? What was your thoughts?
I first heard him singing with Kenny's band, the Jones Gang. We were doing quite a lot of Small Faces material, and things like Tin Soldier. I mean, they're up there, but, and Jim just belted them out, I mean, Kenny's on record as saying, when I first heard Jim Stapley, he said, I've worked with Rod Stewart, Paul Rodgers and Steve Marriott, and Jim is right up there. I mean, you can't get bigger praise than that.
Yeah, that's a hell of a quote there. Hopefully you got that on the bio and the promo, because yeah, like I say, if you put together a band paying tribute to a band and the singer's only half as good, somebody might want their money back,
Yeah,
but I know you guys bring it, and it's like, okay, I'm not Steve, but I'm going to give you as much Steve as I can.
Yeah.
And Bucket over here is going to give you, Frampton and Clem and then some. And, Bobby Marks is channeling Jerry Shirley in the 2020s. And of course, wow, Ivan Broadley's the new one on my radar. And for the facts of what you told me, sounds like an incredible ingredient, to this. So,
he certainly is.
yeah. Now we can't wait for the announcements. We'll be right there, even if I got to travel a little ways. We're here in LA, but we'll go to Vegas, we'll go to San Francisco, we'll go wherever. I know you guys know that America's a big country, and even though you play some of the big markets first, you're going to dive down into the heartland and go through Texas and, Illinois and Ohio and Michigan and Florida and Georgia. This music is timeless. What else can you leave us with, Dave, to encourage everyone that was either there and saw the original band and is going to be quite pleased when they relive those moments, or the younger fans that were like, man, I keep hearing this band, but they were gone before I was even going to concerts? What can you tell them about this new band?
A lot of the new younger bands, cite Humble Pie as their influence. The Rival Sons. I mean, when the Black Crows first came out, they all said, we've learned a lot from Humble Pie, and that's the sort of thing that we're striving. The rock and roll meets the soul, etc., etc. So, I mean, with our show, you'll see that it's going to be a powerful, loud rock and roll show with passion and delivered, as best we can. And it's a band, it's a full unit, it's the real deal. You won't be disappointed.
Well, again, our special guest is the one and only, is the guitarist, the band leader, songwriter, performer, Dave Bucket Caldwell of the mighty Humble Pie legacy. Check our listings. We'll have links below to where you can go and see as the tour dates are announced. And Dave, always a pleasure. I can't wait to shake your hand and give you a fist bump, man. Let you know that this is authentic, and it is the real deal that we've been waiting for, and a welcome addition to the concert trail out there. Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, man. Big pleasure.